Hi, I'm Kyle, a tired therapist.
And I'm Jackie, also a tired therapist.
And together, we are
Two tired therapists. Welcome to the pod.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, hey, party people.
How's it going?
Still New Year.
Still New Year. It's still 2023.
Shit. Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate.
Happy New Year. Yeah, or maybe it's not a Happy New Year. We don't know.
We don't know.
Hopefully
it's
but we hope it is.
Adequate.
Hashtag adequate New Year.
One time when I was working in the prisons, one of my offenders was going through treatment team, which is, where every 90 days you talk about your treatment, how it's going, what you were doing well. And I had to present him, and he'd done okay. Okay is like a really, it was okay.
Yeah.
And so it came time for me to talk about him, and I said, it's been adequate. And everybody laughed, and they were like, that's perfect. And I'm just like, yeah, it was adequate.
Yeah, it was
adequate. I didn't want to say okay. I felt like that was worse.
We didn't get worse, but maybe we didn't get better.
Right. It was just adequate.
Okay. Adequate.
So anyways, well, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
We are.
Kyle, I have to know of your list of many things.
My list of many things. I know.
What are you tired of?
So this one I hope redeems me, because as you know, I've been canceled many times.
Yes, you have been.
And so this one, I do believe it. I'm not just saying this so that I look cool and fit in. People who think that because you have a child vaginally or you breastfeed a child, that makes you a better mother.
Oh,
that's really tired. We have got to stop.
Tired.
We've got to stop that. I don't know why people. Why do people think that?
I don't know. It's weird.
To think just because you breastfed your baby, you're a better mom.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, people really think that. It's really strange.
That. Or you had a C-section, or I just thought of this. Or if you have the drugs.
Sure.
What is it called? Epidural.
Yeah, you have any kind of drugs
you're a better mom because you did it naturally. No,
there are no prizes.
There are no prizes.
As one of our dear friends would say, EK. There are no prizes.
There are no prizes. The only prize is the risk of having a shitty kid. You went into a full labor with no.
It's a hard no for me.
With no pills or whatever it is, and now you have a shitty kid. So you were in pain for that shitty kid.
If it was ever going to happen to me, which it will never happen to me, but if it was ever going to, they would have to literally
drug
knock me out completely. I would have to not be conscious.
No, I don't do pain.
There would be, and I wouldn't want to.
Drug me up, take it out.
Yeah, the old days.
I don't want to push it. I mean, I don't have a vagina, spoiler alert, but I can't imagine that's fun to push that baby.
No, I can't imagine it is either.
And so I really am I'm more you should have a C-section. Just
an elective one.
Although
your organs get so jacked up in that, they literally scramble eggs you on a table. But yeah, that would be me.
Yeah, I can't. I was a C-section baby.
You were?
I turned out great, I think.
Now, did you have formula or no?
I think I did.
I also had formula.
So see, we're fine.
See, you could aspire to be us.
Yeah. And how's that?
Yes. Well, and I will share a fun story. When I was but a baby, and my mom was feeding me, and my brother was also a formula child. She knew somebody who told my mom that we would be not smart because we were formula kids.
Wow.
And was very serious about it. And my mom was like, no. Don't say that shit to me. And we turned out pretty okay.
Pretty okay.
My brother and I.
Pretty okay, yeah. I mean,
adequate, some might say.
I'm a little queer, but I think,
well, I don't think that's the formula.
No, that was, I don't know, probably Spice Girls, honestly, but neither here nor there.
Right. There's no telling.
But yeah, don't do that. If you're doing that, don't do that.
No,
don't tell people.
It's
hard pass there. What are you tired about? What you got going on over there?
I feel like, as you said, we may destroy the magic. We do record these in advance. So I feel like this is a catch-all maybe for the future as well. So hello, future Jackie. Hello, future Kyle.
That's a scary thought.
I know, right? It's just Kanye West. This man goes through life saying whatever he wants. And it's so
And
weird.
He doesn't stop.
Well, and what bothers me, and I don't know, maybe we can have a discussion about this, and maybe we shouldn't because he's a real person, but everybody says he's mentally ill, and I'm like, but mentally ill, you can be mentally ill and say horrible things, but that doesn't justify what you're saying.
No.
And the people that I knew who were very mentally ill and who'd say horrible things usually apologize a couple of days later when they weren't so mentally ill, and they'd be like, I can't believe I said that. That was horrible.
Right.
This man has not done that.
No, he has not.
and
He's
has lost a lot of money.
He's really done the
at
opposite.
this point. Yeah. He has almost doubled down on it.
Yes, he sure has.
But did you see that he had dinner with some very, I don't know the person's name, probably for the best. Don't want to give him airtime. But had some dinner with Donald Trump, Kanye, and some like very prominent like white supremacist person. Mm-hmm. And even Donald Trump at that dinner was like, Kanye's lost it.
And that's
allegedly, which I think is hilarious.
Allegedly, but pretty bad if
Donald
that's
Trump
true.
was like, he's lost it. He's just completely
he's
gone off
too
the deep
much.
end. But I'm just I'm tired of hearing about him. I don't want to hear about him anymore.
Well, it just fuels him. It's like when he gets all the, when he gets canceled and all of these places are taking away endorsements. Exactly.
Why?
Then he just gets more to talk about. Like but he's like a kid throwing a tantrum. Just ignore them and they will stop.
Yes.
But I agree. Just because you have a mental health problem does not give you the right to act any type of way and it'd be okay.
Everyone's like, well, he's bipolar. And I'm like, well, bipolar people,
right.
Diagnostic criteria is not that you talk like an idiot.
Right. Not that you go after the Jews. That's
right.
not.
That's not what we do. I mean, that's not. And, and people are just like, well, it's just so mentally ill. He would just take his meds, and I'm like, the meds aren't going to help what he's talking about.
He needs a lot more than meds.
Well, and I'm really surprised, and this is all speculation once again. We probably shouldn't be talking about it because he's a real person.
Well, I think that's a disclaimer in our entire life.
I just am surprised like more hasn't been taken away from him, like in terms of like time with his kids. Like I'm really surprised that like. But I guess like you have to go to court and do all that. Yeah, that's probably.
I don't know, and they're in a different state. I don't know how different states work.
I don't know either. We have no idea.
In this state of, we are a big mom state, so California may be different though. They may. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what they do. I think she has more custody than usual.
I don't know, but
Anyways, I'm tired of him.
I know, it's so tired. Yeah, God knows what he'll say in the next month when this is out. Maybe this will be very appropriate. Wow.
Yes.
Well, speaking of difficult people.
Right. Speaking of us.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Well, today is a fun episode.
It's a fun episode.
So we talked about this at the very beginning of the podcast, and then we
never did it.
We did it like a couple of times, but not really. But I think we're going to do it more frequently in the new year. Maybe that's our resolution.
There you go. Speaking of New Year's,
is to do more fictional character diagnoses.
Yeah, I think people like this. Right. We don't know. Tell us what you want.
Tell us in the comments. You can also email us at twottiredtherapists@gmail.com.
Or on our Instagram.
Or leave a comment on our Instagram. DM us, I guess.
DM us, yeah. Please.
Slide into our DMs.
And our DMs. Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. But so this is the very first one. And I chose a character that I thought probably a lot of people know, if not have seen at least one of the movies.
Yeah, at least vaguely.
Because it was the very first of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tony Stark. Iron Man. Yeah. Now, are you a Marvel fan? I am
a Marvel fan in the sense, like, I didn't read the comics.
Neither did I.
So I'm not like, don't come for us. Yeah, we're what would you call that? Like mainstream Marvel
mainstream fan. Yeah, I've never read any of the comics.
I think I've seen Iron Man like 1 and 2. Maybe. What's the third one about? I don't know what the third one.
So the third one is set after the first Avengers movie. So it's like 6 months after the very first Avengers movie. So it's after he, spoilies, falls out of the sky in New York.
Who's he fighting? Who's the bad guy? Do we know?
They vaporize people. It's some fireman. I should know this. I did research. I did do research for this episode. I did not look. I've only seen that movie one time, but we will talk a little bit about said movie and all these things. So I will tell you about Tony Stark. I don't know how much you know about him, but
he's rich and very smart.
Yes. Yes. Check.
Scientist, I guess.
Sort of. It goes without being said, there's going to be lots of spoilies. So if you have never seen any of these things and you want to, you probably should just skip this episode maybe, or watch these movies and then come back and then talk to us.
Come back in 4 years after you've watched everything.
Right. You could probably do it in several days. Anyways, okay. Tony Stark. History of Tony Stark. So he was born Anthony Edward Stark, 1970. I don't remember the exact birthday, but fictional character in the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. The character is based on the comics and is probably better known as, obviously, Iron Man. That's his superhero name, I guess. He's played by Robert Downey Jr., great actor, in all of the films in the MCU. And he makes an appearance in other MCU movies. Spider-Man's a notable one. The Avengers is the other one. So he is the CEO of Stark Industries, where Kyle is correct. He's kind of like a scientist, a physicist, all of the abovist.
Yeah, an inventist.
Yeah. So the first movie, obviously, and I'm not going to go through every single movie because that would take way too long. But in the first movie, he's the main weapons dealer for the U.S. military.
Mm-hmm.
He has a change of heart sort of in the beginning of the movie, gets taken capture, and then he decides that he will start making suits to protect himself. He also gets hit with shrapnel. He has like I don't know what the thing is called, but he's got something in his chest. The second movie is based on him thinking he's going to die because of the shrapnel in his chest. He ends up figuring out he doesn't have to die, and he now will live forever, sort of. So he doesn't like being, I don't know, maybe I don't say it like this, but he doesn't like being a superhero. Or he doesn't seem to like being a superhero as much. Him and Captain America have lots of problems in later movies because they both want to do different things.
Right.
Whereas he wants to have an Avengers, like a world savior people, and they're controlled by the government. Captain America doesn't want that. I digress.
Right. Famously a whole movie about it.
But in the Avengers movie, he almost dies. Spoilies. Falls out of the space, basically. Almost dies. It's not funny,
I don't know why that's funny.
It's the spoilies. He falls out of the sky.
Well, because he like flies around the suit and then he almost dies.
Yeah, he goes. So he saves New York from getting nuclear bombed or atomic bombed, I guess.
Sure.
Flies the bomb up into space. The bomb explodes and he falls down, but like his suit dies, so he's just free falling. Hulk saves him. But after that, he has some pretty strong feelings. I'll say it like that. Because he almost died.
Sure. Near-death experience.
Sure.
Yes.
So he has some mental health stuff happen to him in Iron Man 3, which, like I said, is 6 months after the first Avengers movie. So there's some things going on, which I will get into in a minute. But also, we have to talk about, and we'll talk about this later in the episode too, so we don't have a full-blown conversation. But he's kind of full of himself. No?
Yeah. I think definitely at first.
He thinks he's very smart. He thinks he's...
Well, he is.
The universe's gift to... women.
No, that's questionable.
Questionable. I don't get the appeal of Iron Man, but that's just me.
I mean, I think Robert Downey Jr. is attractive.
Yeah, he's not bad.
But Iron Man, I don't know, not my favorite superhero. Not gonna lie.
So, so a lot of the things when I was looking up Tony Stark and like what would he be diagnosed with, the number one thing that kind of shockingly to me came up was PTSD.
You know, I was thinking that as you were talking.
Yes.
Because, like you said, he was captured. In the first Iron Man?
The very first movie, yes.
By like insurgents or something. He was like held in that cave and and they like
made the suit and had the shrapnel. The guy took care of him. Yeah. Well, this is more based on Iron Man 3 than it is the first one. So listverse.com had probably the best sort of breakdown of it that I saw. So he had some pretty significant post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, PTSD, for those who don't know what that means. And obviously because of after the Avengers and he almost died.
Right. In
the beginning of Iron Man 3, he opens the movie by saying we create our own demons, which I thought was really interesting. Well, don't 100% agree with, but
not always.
And sometimes I kind of agree with that. Tony really struggles because he doesn't want to accept his mortality.
Right.
He doesn't want to talk about anything to do with New York. Famously has lots of panic attacks and sort of freakouts about it. And obviously, after all of that, you probably would be a little
freaked. I mean, that's scary.
I would be.
Oh, yeah.
So he has night terrors, can't sleep, panic attacks, won't talk about anything related to New York, won't answer questions about his symptoms, like him sleeping. He won't. He will absolutely not.
Avoiding triggers.
So another article I found from Psychology Today, which is I want to barf. It was almost 10 years old. It's horrible. I was like, oh my God. But I guess that's when this movie came out. It was about 10 years ago.
Well, we don't talk about that.
So it was the person who wrote it outlined exactly why he has PTSD, and I couldn't even disagree with it. I was like, this is actually really good. So we'll have links on our website if anybody wants to read these things, because I do want to give them credit, because this is...
And don't come for us.
Yeah, don't talk. No. So exposure to a traumatic event.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
100%.
Several.
I was going to say, I wrote, which event should we even pick?
Right. Where do you even start?
Right. Persistent re-experiencing. Yes.
Yeah.
Nightmares. Intrusive thoughts about the events in New York. And I'm sure all sorts of other things. He does a lot of... I want to say nefarious, because they're not really nefarious, but it is a lot of other, hurting people, and he's going after bad guys. I'm sure like that would be traumatic after a certain point of your life.
Yeah.
So we have that persistent re-experiencing. We have persistent avoidance, as you mentioned. There was a lot of avoiding. So he, as I said before, avoids thoughts and conversations related to his trauma. He avoids certain places and situations. He also starts to not participate in activities that he used to like because of said trauma.
Feeling isolated from people, perhaps?
Yes. He feels detached from other people.
An emotional numbness, perhaps?
Yes. He actually ends up going into, like, I don't want to say hiding, but he kind of goes into hiding in a town where, like, no one really knows him, and he kind of works out of a shed. And he kind of befriends a kid who, like, helps get him supplies that he needs because his suit, it gets taken away. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I have not seen the third one because none of this sounds familiar.
That's the only, he doesn't have any other, like, contact outside of that. Like, that's this, like, kid is his only sort of friend. A friend is a strong word. Because they're not, like, well, you know, Tony Stark, he's, like, annoyed by the kid, sort of.
Yeah.
And he keeps showing up and, like, helping him.
Like,
and exactly. So, yeah. And then his difficulty showing his emotions after the trauma, which I don't know. That seems like a universal thing for him, though, because he's very...
Well, now I believe, and producer Justin will probably confirm, but I believe his parents died in a car crash when he was quite young.
I think he was in college.
So... You know, I think there was probably some, and I think his dad was quite a difficult, or
yes, he had a very difficult
was a very
relationship
similar
person.
Yeah,
yes. Well, and his parents, spoilies, were really killed by the Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but it was posed as a car crash. Yes, he had a very difficult relationship with his father. So,
like, it could have started even there, some of this emotional.
Well, it's so funny because in Endgame, he goes back and sort of, I don't want to say hangs out with his dad, but he has to go and get one of the stones, and he ends up, or he has to go and get the Tesseract. He ends up having to interact with his dad, which he has, like, a really emotional moment with him. Yeah. It was really cute. It was really funny, but yes, that was on Wikipedia. Shout out to Wikipedia. We're looking for sponsorship someday, so we'll take Wikipedia.
We are moving on up. So.
That was a big part of his Wikipedia page, was the relationship with his dad and how poor it was.
Because I think his dad was a lot like him in kind of the beginning of the movie, like Iron Man 1, where he was kind of callous. And
those who may or may not remember, his dad was in Captain America because his dad helped make Captain America. He was part of making the serum and the machine or whatever. So a lot of what the Wikipedia said, which was true, because he does talk about it in some of the movies as well, where they bring it up where Tony Stark is resentful of Captain America because his dad always talked about Captain America.
Right.
So, like, he felt like he lost his dad. But yes, the relationship with dad was not
very
good.
Complicated.
But he had a very good relationship with his mom, or at least the movie's portrayed as such. So, yeah. Again, we don't know the comic books, so sorry. Sorry. And then, so we have persistent avoidance. We have persistent symptoms of increased arousal. So, obviously, he can't sleep. So, there's that. And then, obviously, the anxiety, the panic attacks.
Right. When he was kind of... irritable too, wasn't he? Prone to anger sometimes?
I would say he's a pretty angry, but not like Hulk angry. Like, he's different. No. Like, annoyed maybe is probably the better. Yes. He's a very annoyed individual. So there's that. So then obviously the duration has to be for longer than a month. Otherwise it's acute stress disorder. These symptoms last for several months, if not longer. I don't know how long he's in the town that he's in that movie. I think it's several months. So there's that. So yes, he meets criteria for that.
Yeah.
Clinically significant impairment or distress. Now, I would say yes.
Well, yeah, because he's isolated from people, even though he kind of wants to. I mean, you kind of have to be around people.
Right.
And he didn't kind of like throw himself into his work, though, and that's technically not... Right. It's, too much.
Well, that's what was interesting. The Psychology Today article had a lot more about how some people might say, no, it wasn't clinically significant impairment or distress because he threw himself into his work and came up with something different. Which I'm like, I guess, but still, he's not sleeping. He's having panic attacks. Like, if you think about trauma in that lens of, it's impeding his functioning. I mean, any way you slice it, in my opinion, it is. Whether he thinks it's beneficial or not.
Right. No, I agree. I think, that was a hard one because it was his kind of like way of soul searching, I guess, but that doesn't mean it was healthy necessarily.
Right. And it doesn't, even if you don't think it's like negatively impacting you, it can still be causing impairment into your life. Well, like you said,
he's not sleeping, he's working.
Right.
Not sleeping, panic attacks, not...
Exactly.
We assume probably not eating.
Yes. So there's that. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's not what I thought you were going to talk about.
What do you think I was going to talk about?
I thought we were going to talk about narcissism.
Yeah,
I think that's what everybody thinks.
Well, you and I need to have a discussion I always viewed him sort of as narcissistic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, personality disorder might be too strong.
Too strong, I think. Well,
I don't know. He saved the fate of the whole universe, spoilies. And
yeah. But that was after all
justified?
his soul searching and...
I suppose. I mean, you gotta think. So at the end of Infinity War / beginning of Endgame, like he's stuck in this ship, thinking he's gonna die. Well, he's on the planet, gets in the ship. They're like aimlessly floating in space, I guess.
Floating in space, yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder if some of that, like the soul searching you're speaking of, is like during that time, because I don't know when else he would have really.
Well, I think just over. Well, like you said, he had the near-death experience because was that.
Right.
That was before all of Endgame and all that.
Yes.
Right. So, you know, he got with Peppa Pig. Peppa Potts. And like they were
Sorry.
I don't do names are really hard for me. They did like they got married, right? Like so there was some emotional closeness. They had kid like they had the kid. They had the kid. So spoilies. Which I think he, you know, loved the kid.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of went through a journey where he started. He's like, "Oh, I'm this tough guy,
well, and he was
cool
such
guy.
like a playboy. Yes, like I sleep with everybody. I don't know.
Did he though? Did he sleep with people?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember the first until like him and Pepper got really serious, which I think was like in the second-ish movie.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I think she gets. Hot take.
Sure.
I don't know that I really buy their relationship together.
No, I don't either. But I don't know, is it her, or is it?
Is it Gwenny?
Gwyneth. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is it Gwyneth?
Is it Gwenny? I don't know. I don't.
Not a fan. Sorry.
I think if you think about their personalities and I don't know, she worked for him. Like that's gross on a lot of levels.
That's gross. Yeah.
I don't know. It's
neither
not
here.
thing.
Not my. Yeah.
I don't think I ever bought the relationship personally, but
he did. I mean, he starts out like that playboy, which does seem very like narcissistic and like, oh, I'm so hot, and
he's like, I'm so smart, you're so stupid, I can figure out all these things.
Running this like multi-billion-dollar company and all that. So definitely traits, definitely flavors, but yeah, full on personality disorder. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know if it meets full criteria
because we don't know how much it was trauma based.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of stuff that I was looking into. And like I said, we'll post links on our website if anybody wants to look at any of these articles. But a lot of it was just kind of talking about, is it trauma? Is it his personality? The other thing that came up a lot that I don't know that I would diagnose because it fits so much better under her PTSD was like the panic disorder. Because he has multiple panic attacks. He can't breathe. Yeah. He's freaking out. But to me, that's so much better explained by PTSD than it is like just a genuine panic disorder. Like there's a trigger for his stuff.
Yeah, it's yes. It's always around that. Yeah, I would agree. I think that'd be more of a trauma.
Yeah,
PTSD
I didn't think panic was.
I mean, I don't think it's definitely not anything for a personality disorder. Although there is, like, I guess like mood swings or emotional lability. I think with narcissism, isn't there? Because of that sort of, it's kind of like borderline where there's that like fear of abandonment, whereas narcissism is like that fear of, I don't know, being found out.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's emotional ability, but there's the ego part. And so when somebody like pokes your ego, you like tend to like lose your shit. Yeah. And maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Maybe.
But not a lot of people poke his ego that much because he is.
Yeah.
So.
And he doesn't care either.
No, he doesn't.
But we talked about before. I mean, he is really smart though.
Right. He figured out a way to essentially time travel, time heist as they call it in the last movie. Like he did figure that out, which is really impressive. So I mean, I kept thinking, I was like, but is his thoughts about himself justified? Like, are they just, he is very smart. He is very. Because
a lot of times I think when you think of a narcissist, it's like they're really, not that they're not cool or anything, but like they're not all that. They're not all that, but he kind of is.
Yeah.
He kind of is.
And he can fly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I was like,
we said earlier, that doesn't mean he gets to treat people, right? Like,
correct.
Just because you are hot shit doesn't mean you get to
right. He doesn't
treat people that
necessarily.
way.
I don't know. He's actually not like the worst person in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a lot of ways. I don't know who is off the top of my head, but
Thanos probably.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about superheroes, not the villains.
Oh.
I mean, very, very good point.
Yeah, hot take, but
hot take.
Oh, producer Justin says Thor
is the worst. Oh, full of himself.
Well, he went through it for a minute too.
Yeah, I would say first movie he was very full of himself.
Big man baby. He was being a man baby in that one movie.
Which movie?
I don't remember which movie it was, but he gained weight and was.
See, a lot of we could save this for another. We can save this for another.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, let's talk about Thor some other time.
Depression was the big one that came up with him. Like that was.
Yeah. Well, grief. Yeah, depression.
Sure. Anywho's.
In another time.
Why don't we take a break?
Let's take a break.
And when we come back, we can talk about treatment for PTSD and trauma.
Okay, let's do it. We'll be right back. We're back.
Okay. Ready?
I'm ready.
Treatment.
Which
you might be able to talk way more about this than I can, because trauma's not one of my things, and I not really worked with people with trauma. So, but we're going to talk about just some of the general treatments for trauma. I'm not going to go into every single one because there's so many, but the first one I'm going to talk about is EMDR.
Of course, you can't talk about trauma without
I know.
EMDR.
For those who don't know, there's probably a lot of people listening who's
a lot of people don't know.
What
Is that?
So it's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, right? Yes. And it combines exposure therapy and then the guided eye movements because it's like a light bar.
There's different ways of doing it.
Sure.
So yeah, but it's.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know a lot about it either because it's definitely witchcraft.
Yeah.
Because they do. I mean, it's not. It's an actual like whole research thing. But on the surface, like the eye thing is the eye bar where like a light just goes back and forth and you kind of follow it.
Yeah.
But people do like tapping as well, or there's these like handheld things that you just like, they're like little, I don't know, they almost look like little like pressure cuffs, like when you get your old school blood pressure, those little balls it's like that, and they vibrate back and forth. So what it's supposed to do is stimulate I think the halves of your brain.
Yeah.
And so that's supposed to help you
it's
process trauma. That's my limited view on what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much exactly what you said. It's to help you reprocess your like traumatic memories and like change your reaction to the memories, so you're not like having panic attacks, or you're not, whatever.
Right.
So what I thought was really interesting, so it's pretty popular nowadays and it's pretty successful, and I think
it's the gold standard.
Yeah, it is now the gold standard. So I found one study that said the success rate for EMDR was 77%, which is pretty high.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
And then I found another one that was said at 84 to 90% success rate.
And it's long term too.
Yes, it's not something that is like 2 sessions and you're done. It's like, and you also have to go to therapy for a second before you do it.
It's very structured in that like you don't just walk in and do one and you're done. Like it's a very structured thing where you still have to like get an assessment, and then they have to teach you the skills. Like there are certain skills, because what happens is like you pick a very specific traumatic like memory or a feeling, and then basically they teach you, how do you deal with the feelings that come up.
Yeah.
And then when you actually are doing the treatment with like either the light bar or whatever it is, you call to mind that and they walk you through it. And you kind of see how you do with it.
Yeah.
But it's long term in the sense too that like it lasts, because like a lot of studies show that like therapy, even like after so long, you start to like symptoms start to come back up and things start to happen.
Yeah.
But for EMDR, they're pretty long term too. So
yeah. No. So that was the number one that could like.
Which also, speaking of depression, which I know we aren't talking about, but there are, I don't remember what they call them, modules or something for like depression, anxiety. Like there are other sorts of ways that you can treat other things that come along with trauma.
Yeah.
So yeah,
correct.
I've not done the training. It's like I said, it's very specialized. I mean, there's a couple We got a couple people we could probably have on the pod to talk about it sometime.
Yeah, it's not something I've ever been trained in either.
No,
so.
and it sounds like witchcraft, and it probably is.
Right.
So.
Well, and like I said, trauma is not my wheelhouse and never has been, and probably never will be.
And never will be. So there you go.
There we go.
Moving on.
Talk therapy is the other one, which could be, there's a lot of different kinds of talk therapy that could be beneficial for trauma, PTSD.
Gotta be trauma informed.
Right.
Trauma informed.
Yes, everybody's gotta be trauma informed, which means you basically look at everybody through a lens of trauma, if you don't know what that means. But for talk therapy, could be CBT. You could do trauma-focused CBT, which I don't know a ton about, but obviously it's focused on trauma, and you're doing cognitive behavioral. You're doing that. Yeah. And narrative therapy, which I've never done, and I've only learned about in grad school. I don't know. Have you ever done it, or have you?
Yes, it's. I mean, I don't do it in the structured way. Again, there's probably like a structured way to do it, but it's essentially like literally changing the narrative on what you're telling yourself, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm going through this trauma and I'm a victim, and right, like it's like changing that and being like, well, what if you're not a victim? What if you're like this? And just kind of changing your perception, I guess, on that. And I'm probably under explaining that, and all the narrative therapists are going to come after us.
Well, I always thought, I at least I was taught that it was like you sort of rewrite your trauma, like to a different like narrative, depending on like how you talk to yourself about it. Yes. But I've never seen anybody do it or use it like in a.
I don't know, because you're not anymore. You're not supposed to go. You're not supposed to talk about the trauma anymore, right? Like you don't talk about what happened to you.
We don't talk about things.
We don't talk about. We don't talk about Bruno. No. That's how it used to be. They're like, oh, you tell your story and that treats you, and that's I guess not. That's not what you do. No, it's not. So I don't know. I don't know if narrative therapy would be a.
It was another thing that just came up, and then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, I don't know. We'll put it on the list.
Jury's out on that one.
Exposure therapy.
Oh, sure.
Is exactly what you think it sounds like. But that's...
Well...
not... Okay.
Kind of.
Maybe not that kind of exposure.
They don't, like, throw you into a similar traumatic situation and go, deal with it.
Yeah. No, it's not like that. But you have to really do it with a professional, because you shouldn't be, like... You know, if you're afraid of getting into a car accident, like, the first thing... should not be that you get into a car.
You get into a right.
Like it's a very gradual process of like.
Or like you're afraid of spiders, so they put you in a tank of spiders. Like that's not what it is.
Old school fear
right. I think that's what most people think of for exposure therapy.
Yeah, and I think that but it's
not.
It's helpful, but you have to be really careful.
It's well, again, I think it's very structured in that, like,
I also think don't you have to learn, same with the EMDR, don't you have to learn like some grounding techniques before you really do it?
Yeah, it's very structured in that, and that there are specific skills that you go over like you and the therapist practice them before you even talk about the like whatever the trauma, or using phobias too, specific phobias. It's exposure therapies, and then it'll be like, okay, now you've practiced these and you've learned them, and it's like, okay, here's a picture of a fake spider, and then like, okay, here's a picture of a real spider, and like you move up until you get to a real spider. And, all of those things. Then they put you in a tank full of spiders. No, just kidding. And then you get I don't think they do that.
And then they unleash the spiders.
Right. And then you die. So sorry.
You freak out. Well, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy.
Real therapy.
And then medications is the last one. But this is obviously very much based on your symptoms, and there's no medication for PTSD. Right. But if you're having like panic attacks, you know, they may give you some type of like, you know, I won't say Ativan, but like they can give you. They can like it's controversial, but
they'll do a non-benzo.
Right.
No benzos. That is contraindicated for trauma-based anxiety.
Yeah.
Big no. But like a hydroxyzine. Yeah, that's what you're thinking of. Like a hydroxyzine Atarax, I believe, is what it's called. Yeah. Something like that.
You could also get like antidepressants can also help with PTSD.
I think so.
Certain symptoms. Again, it's we're not doctors, and
we're not doctors. No, please do not take medical advice from us, even though we give it out freely.
I think a lot.
No, I think it's some antidepressants. A lot of what I see are like NPs using are like blood pressure medications. Like there's one called like Endurel or something. Oh
yeah. I forget what it's called, but
that
there's
helps.
one. Mm-hmm.
That's like not, it's not addictive. It's
off-brand
it's
or
like
whatever.
an off-label use. There's another one that helps with nightmares. That's used a lot.
Trazodone?
No.
Medical advice.
Medical advice.
Jackie and Kyle. It's always
Please don't take
very
it.
Sound.
Can you imagine if these people go and they're like, I was listening to this podcast and there's this medication I can take for nightmares, and the doctor's like, oh, what is it? And they're like, well, I don't really know. Or we say something
It's
like,
called Valium.
or we say like fen-phen.
Yeah.
They're like, it's called fen-phen. No,
it's not.
No, there is. There's one. Is it Remeron maybe?
Maybe. Remeron.
We need to have a real medical person on here to talk about medications.
God.
But yeah, there's something that you can take for Prazosin.
Oh,
There's,
I don't know.
You can, I think that's what it is. You can take for trauma-related nightmares. Again, don't take medical advice from us.
Please do. I'm just kidding.
Canceled.
So yeah, so those are all the treatment options for PTSD.
Yeah, I think it's really, give that space for little Tony to go through everything. He's got some grief, too. We have to work through.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts, comments, feelings about any of the above?
I think he'd be a tough nut to crack.
I don't think he would willingly go to therapy.
No. Court ordered. Absolutely.
Court ordered
or like through the company. Yeah. But I think he'd come in and he'd be like, I'm fine. Like, I'm just, I'm cool and blah, blah, blah. But then
he'd be a smart ass. He'd be that client who's like a giant smart ass.
And you could give it back and he'd like that. Yeah. But I think you'd have to eventually be like, look, Tony, like, this is trauma. Yeah. And then he'd have his like Goodwill Hunting moment. Yeah. Right? And he'd be like, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
And he'd be like, what? Like, it's not your fault. He'd be like, oh God. You're right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Well, lovely. Wow.
Tony. PTSD. Who would have known?
Yep.
Who would have known?
Yep. Well, instead of Fetch or Flop, I have a Would You Rather.
Oh, okay.
Because this is superheroes, and I really need to.
You know how I am with these because I have to dive deep into each one. So
sure, but I picked some ones that I thought were good and would evoke some good discussion between the two of us. Great. So, because I think sometimes Would You Rather can be really interesting. So, okay, would you rather attend a party hosted by Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne?
Oh, Tony Stark.
Same. I think I would go Tony Stark.
I think Batman's dumb.
I think his parties aren't as legendary as Tony Stark's party. They have fireworks and hot people.
Doesn't his always get attacked too? Usually.
Bruce Wayne or Tony
Bruce
Stark's?
Wayne's doesn't like. Or he has to leave, so it's like, well, then he leaves.
He does the old Irish
goodbye. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Irish goodbye. Yes.
Yeah, he sure does.
I had a friend in grad school who always did the Irish goodbye, and you'd think we all would know it because we hung out with him so often. But every time we were all like, "Where did this person go?"
Oh, I love an Irish goodbye.
I do too, but it was just so off. And then when you're in a group of people and you're all going out drinking, you're like, "Oh shit, did we like?"
No, yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah, no, definitely Tony. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather be able to teleport or see into the future?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I got some good ones.
I'm gonna be super lame right now.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna say teleport.
Ooh.
Because I'm in a long distance relationship, so then I could easily see.
That's precious.
little Eddie.
I'm gonna say teleport also. Yeah. One, because I think seeing into the future would make me so anxious.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
And two, I like to travel, but I hate planes. So teleport would be much preferred.
Do you think people can teleport with you?
No, I bet you just by yourself.
So producer Justin has to fly, and you'll be like,
he would love it. I'll see you. He's fine with flying. I am like.
He'd probably have a better time because he wouldn't have to console you the whole time.
Yes, he shakes his head. Yeah. Violently.
He was saying yes before I even finished the sentence.
Yeah,
so
it's a hard. I hate flying. It's oh my god.
Yeah,
it's a mess.
I know. Me too. I know.
No, we can't do it. Okay. Would you rather be able to see inside someone's mind or make them forget things?
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah. I'll have to see what you say because I'm so undecided on this one.
To just see in their mind
or make them forget.
Is it like you see in their mind, you see the truth? Like,
I think it's you could read their mind. Or it's just
whatever they're thinking.
It's like you could read their mind. You know what they're thinking. You know what they're doing.
Okay, so I'm going to give another kind of lame answer. I'm going to say see into their mind because as a therapist, I think that'd be very helpful. And I wouldn't want to make them forget. I know. I wouldn't make them forget because everything we go through makes us who we are and it makes us, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, So
I would say look into their mind so then I could say, look, here's what you're going through. I see it clearly. And then healing. Because you make them forget, then it's like,
I know.
you know, that's an experience. You're taking that away from them.
What is it?
Even good or
It's not
bad
like it could
experiences.
be like, oh, they, you know, stubbed their toe this morning. You make them forget that. I don't know. I mean, like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing that you're making them forget. I don't know. I'm so torn on this, but I think I'm with you on that. I think it's see inside someone's mind.
Yeah. I have to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be more interesting. I don't know. It would be more, I think it would be more fun to fuck with somebody to see inside their mind. It's like, well, what are you thinking? And it's like you say the exact right answer.
Right.
And yeah, it's fun. When I used to work in the prison, the guys would always ask me, like, can you see inside my mind? And I'm like, yeah, I know what you're thinking. They're like, what am I thinking as? I always said pizza, and they always laughed, and they were like, how'd you know? And I'm like, I know you're joking.
Right.
Okay, last one. This one is similar to the teleport one, but not really. Would you rather be able to fly or be invisible?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't like flying. I'm not a fan.
But like
But I'd be okay. I mean, I guess
you're
if I'm
controlling it, so it's you flying. At what point could you be high up and not like die from the lack of oxygen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have superpowers.
True.
I don't know. I don't know if I would, but I wouldn't. I don't know if I want to fly, but I don't know that I want to be invisible either. Can I control the invisibility?
Yeah. Yeah. You're not invisible all the time. That's your superpower. You can choose when you want to be invisible.
I don't know. I think I'd go with invisibility.
I think I would choose fly. As
Really?
terrified of heights as I am, and as much as I hate flying, I think I would want to fly.
I think I'd be too scared that like they'd stop working and then I'd fall.
I mean, being invisible would also be a really good and cool superpower, I think, in some facets, but I feel like
I'd fuck with people.
I would
I'd pretend
too.
to be a ghost in people's houses. I would. I would do it.
you're like in the corner just knocking
Knocking
books
shit over. Yeah.
off a shelf.
Slamming doors.
Oh, no, 100%. I was gonna say if I was gonna choose to be invisible, I would 100% fuck
Yeah,
with people.
I would
That
haunt
be-
people.
That would be my favorite.
Mhm.
Another one I saw that I didn't include was something along the lines of like, would you rather be able to breathe underwater or be able to climb buildings? And I thought was, and I said breathe underwater.
Yeah, I think I'd go with that one too.
But I don't know. Anyways,
Interesting.
would you rather?
Would you rather?
Uh-oh.
Oh no, I don't want to say that. That's lame.
Oh.
Would you rather eat a baby goat
Oh.
or a matter baby?
What's the matter, baby?
Nothing, sugar. What's the matter with you?
I fell right into that. Did you see it coming, Justin? You hate her. Oh my God.
Anyways.
Well,
Well, there you go. Here we are.
Yeah, so we'll do that from time to time.
From time to time.
It'll be
We'll
fun.
switch it up on you.
If you have characters you'd like us to look into or do an episode on, please let us know.
We'd love to diagnose people that aren't real.
Yes, and we can ethically do that.
Ethically.
So,
I mean, we can talk about people who maybe have already been diagnosed, like Kanye, right? Like he's put
that's
that out
common
there.
knowledge. I think
Right,
it's
that's
okay.
common knowledge.
I'm not adding a diagnosis to that.
Right. No adding.
Yeah.
We're not adding to real people.
Well, again, if you'd like to let us know, you can comment on Spotify, apparently. You can email us at twottiredtherapist@gmail.com. You can comment on our Instagrams.
Yeah.
Instagram, we just have one.
We just have one. Yeah, we just have one. I think
The
we have a
Instagrams.
Facebook as well, I do believe.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, then you can find us on Facebook.
So you can find us on Therapist.
You can find us at your local therapist's office. No, I'm just kidding. We're not everywhere. Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook, Two Tired Therapists.
Yeah.
Or Shut Into the Wind. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Most of you know us, I think.
Yeah.
We are under the delusion that we're really popular. And now we do have some followers that I know neither of us know, because I know a couple of my coworkers have shared our podcast with their patients. So we do have a couple. So shout out
Welcome.
to those people
Welcome.
who have stayed with us and not reported me, because you know where I work. So please don't do
Bless.
that. Bless you. But yeah, no, I know we have, I think it'd be curious to see some of the stats. Maybe we need to go over the stats sometime. Kind of see where's everybody at, and you know, are we international? Maybe.
I think
don't
we
know.
are international. I think we have had a listener outside of the United States. So hello if you're
Hello.
listening not in the United States. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Just tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends.
If you don't have friends, then just post it on social media. We'll be fine.
Yeah, just post it to somebody. Just tell anyone.
Yeah, just tell anybody. Well, on that note,
On that note,
stay tired.
and petty.